I rescued a man who had a heart attack, but I arrived late to work and lost my job. The next day, I went back to the office to collect my things, and to my surprise, there he was, the man I saved. He was the new partner and boss where I worked. Julie woke up that morning with a smile on her face and contagious energy. It was the day she had been looking forward to, her first day as a permanent employee at the company where she had interned for months. At 22, she saw this moment as the beginning of a dream coming true. As she got ready, Julie remembered all the effort she had put in to get there. Sleepless nights studying, weekends dedicated to extra courses, and a lot of determination to overcome daily challenges at work. It wasn't easy, especially because her boss, Ralph, never seemed very pleased with her, clearly favoring her fellow intern. But Julie didn't let that bring her down. Her optimistic personality and impeccable work ethic helped her earn the respect of many colleagues, and now she would finally have the chance to prove her worth as a permanent employee. Leaving the house, Julie checked the clock. She was early, as usual. She liked to arrive early to organize her tasks and start the day calmly. On the way to the bus stop, she observed the city waking up, people hurrying to their commitments. Then something unusual caught her attention. A middle-aged, well-dressed man seemed to be in trouble, staggering on the sidewalk with one hand pressing his chest. Julie hesitated for a moment. She looked at her watch again, thinking about how important it was to be on time on this special day. But something inside her spoke louder. She approached the man and asked if he was okay. The man, who introduced himself as Henry, replied with difficulty that he felt a strong pain in his chest. At that moment, he collapsed. Julie acted quickly. She remembered the first aid classes she had taken on her own initiative a few months ago. She checked Henry's vital signs and began CPR maneuvers. At the same time, she asked a passerby to call an ambulance. The minutes felt like hours as Julie struggled to keep Henry alive. She alternated between chest compressions and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, silently praying for help to arrive soon. Finally, she heard the approaching sirens. When the paramedics arrived, they praised Julie's swift and precise actions, saying her efforts had likely saved Henry's life. She felt a mix of relief and pride, but reality quickly hit her. She was already late for work. Julie rushed to the company, her heart racing not only from the physical exertion, but also from the worry about the reaction she would face upon arriving. She noticed the disapproving looks from some colleagues. She tried to quickly explain what had happened, but was interrupted by the arrival of Ralph, her boss. Ralph didn't seem pleased at all. With a brusque gesture, he called Julie into his office. She followed him, feeling a knot in her stomach. As soon as the door closed, Ralph began to speak, his voice filled with irritation. "Julie, I am extremely disappointed. On your very first day as a full-time employee, you are over an hour late. You missed an important meeting with the board. What kind of example do you think you are setting?" Julie tried to explain the situation, describing the incident with Henry and how she had administered first aid. But Ralph seemed skeptical. "A very convenient story, don't you think? How can I be sure that really happened? And even if it did, your priority should have been your job. Other people could have helped." Ralph's words hit Julie like a punch in the stomach. She felt tears welling up in her eyes, but made an effort to hold them back. "Ralph, I understand your concern, but I assure you I am telling the truth. I couldn't just ignore someone in need of help. It was a medical emergency." But Ralph didn't seem willing to listen. With a heavy sigh, He said the words Julie never expected to hear that day. Julie, I'm sorry, but I cannot tolerate this kind of behavior. Your actions demonstrate a lack of commitment to the company. I am terminating your contract. You are fired. He emphasized that the company didn't accept mistakes and delays, and that allowing this would set a bad example for the interns and employees, especially at a crucial time for the company. Julie's world crumbled in that instant. All her dreams and plans seemed to slip through her fingers. She tried to argue, but Ralph was adamant. He asked her to clear out her desk and leave immediately, returning only the next day to sign the termination documents. Dazed, Julie gathered her things under the curious, and in some cases, sympathetic gazes of her colleagues. She left the building feeling completely lost. How would she explain this to her younger sister, whom she had been taking care of since their parents passed away? That night, Julie could hardly sleep. She alternated between moments of deep sadness and flashes of anger for being treated unfairly. But deep down, she knew she had done the right thing by helping Henry. This certainty was the only consolation amidst the chaos of emotions. The next morning, Julie returned to the company to finalize her termination. As she was saying her goodbyes and walking down the corridor, she saw a man entering hastily. She recognized him immediately. It was Henry, the man she had helped. Henry saw her, and his eyes lit up with recognition. He quickly approached. You are the young woman who saved me yesterday. I've been looking for you. The doctor said that if it weren't for your quick action, I probably wouldn't have survived. How can I thank you? Julie, surprised and emotional, just smiled shyly. No need to thank me, sir. I just did what anyone would have done. Henry shook his head admiringly. No, it wasn't just anyone. It was you, and that made all the difference. He looked around and asked, Do you work here? Before Julie could respond, Ralph appeared, his face turning pale upon seeing Henry. Mr. Henry, we weren't expecting you today. I thought you were still in the hospital. Coincidentally, Henry was the new partner of the company, and by a twist of fate, Ralph's boss, whom everyone had been waiting for. Henry smiled. I'm extremely well, thanks to this young lady, he said, turning to Julie. But you didn't answer me. Do you work here? Julie hesitated, glancing at Ralph, who seemed extremely uncomfortable. Actually, sir, I did work here. I was fired yesterday. Henry frowned, confused. Fired? Why? Ralph turned pale and quickly intervened. There was a misunderstanding, Mr. Henry. Could we discuss this in private? Henry, the new partner, maintained a respectful distance, not prying into Julie's reasons for leaving. Ralph, likewise, did not dare to mention the cause of the dismissal or why she was leaving the company. They said their goodbyes, and Julie went to another area to bid farewell to other people. With a box of her belongings in hand, she entered the elevator, feeling the weight of her situation. However, when the elevator reached the ground floor, a shout pierced the air. Julie! It was Henry, who had learned about her dismissal and was visibly shocked. The news that she was fired due to the delay caused by the day she helped him left him outraged. With a frustrated expression, he approached Julie and, in a gesture of consideration, handed her a card. Call me tomorrow, he asked. We need to discuss this more calmly. The card, with Henry's name in elegant letters, seemed to carry the promise of something more. Julie looked at it, feeling a mix of relief and curiosity as he walked away, leaving her with the sense that a new door was about to open. The next day, Julie made the call that Henry had requested. He invited her for a conversation at his private office, located in a distinguished and imposing building. Henry was a man of great prestige, known for his influence and for running several companies. Upon entering the office, Julie felt a mix of nervousness and curiosity. Henry, with his attentive and cordial gaze, greeted her with a genuine smile. He began the conversation by expressing his deep gratitude for the help she had provided. His voice, usually firm, carried a tone of sincerity and admiration as he said, "Julie, I want you to know how grateful I am for your action on the day I needed it. Your attitude was more than altruistic, it was vital." He continued, highlighting the character and proactivity she had demonstrated. To Henry, these attributes were rare and valuable. "I see in you a young woman of great potential, someone I would like to work more closely with," he said. Henry then made a proposal that would make the heart of any aspiring administrator beat faster. "I would like to invite you to become my protégé. You will work directly with me as my right hand. I commit to guiding you and helping you become the excellent administrator you aspire to be." Julie, touched by the offer and the opportunity to fulfill her dream, accepted with a radiant smile and a heart full of hope. In the months that followed, the young woman proved to be not just an excellent assistant, but a true partner to Henry. Her empathy, intelligence, and dedication were fundamental in implementing positive changes in the company. The story of how she had been hired quickly spread, inspiring other employees to be more supportive and to value the human aspect in the workplace. As for Ralph, he ended up being transferred to another department, where he underwent intensive training in leadership and people management. Julie, in turn, flourished in her new position. She not only managed to provide a better life for herself and her sister, but also became an example of how integrity and compassion can lead to professional success. Years later, reminiscing with her little sister about that fateful day, Julie smiled, grateful for having followed her heart and done the right thing. Her story became a powerful reminder that sometimes our greatest challenges can turn into our greatest opportunities, as long as we keep our moral compass pointed in the right direction. Thus, what began as a day of disappointment and loss transformed into the start of an incredible journey of growth, fulfillment, and positive impact. Julie discovered that by helping others, we often end up helping ourselves in ways we could never have imagined.